we're on about this sin. This sin is breaking or transgressing the law. So you said I don't know.
Enjoying it.
Split into 4 different videos. This should be a number 2. But you said about it's hard to be a born again Christian, and I said to you, this is why you're not really reading it right, because to break his laws. So if I don't know, I can do something that we might call a sin that probably wouldn't be in one of his commands.
Yeah. So if you know the law, or if you know the command, and if you break that deliberately, then obviously you are the Satan's child.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Okay. Anyway, you see, in Islam, we believe that Allah is able to forgive all sins except the sin of shirk. You know what shirk?
Yeah.
So shirk is associating partners with Allah in any way, shape or form, including atheism. Atheism, even though they reject God, that is the worst form of shirk. Okay? So that is also, they might consider other things which they worship. Some worship money, some worship women, I don't know. But they have all different forms of worship.
You've got to realise that most most things Jesus says people don't do. And one thing you've got to do first is divide the word properly. Once you've done that, then you've got to believe it. So they're the most important things. And also the biggest thing, the very first, when I come, we'll have another chat with Italian time.
Yeah, sure.
But and you can do a bit of research, you might not even have been brought this up before. But the very, very first parable in the Bible, in the New Testament, and it's given to the Sadducees and the Pharisees. It's not even given to his disciples. And it's called a parable in one gospel and just talks about the other one. And it's the one about putting new wine into old wine sacks. Have you heard that? Have you or not?
No.
Because this is...
Anyway,
anyway,
if you tell me detail, I might be able to recollect it, but I don't know.
Well, just that. If you just search what I just said there, new old wine into old wine, and we'll start from there next time we come. Because the whole idea is Jesus told them from the start, I can't tell you what I want to tell you. Because if I just tell you, you're going to run away from me.
No, I'm not.
No, you, the people at the time, the Jews. I tell you, these things are so big, and it's going to change so much. So he's what he's trying to say. I can't put old wine into new wine into old wine sacks. They'll just split and go away. You can't repair old clothes with a new patch, because the patch will rip it apart. You know, so this is the basis you have to understand. And if you go all through the New Testament, every time he tells a demon to leave someone, the demon always normally proclaims who he is and what he is. And he tells the demon to be quiet. He does not want people to know that he is God to start with, which is why the confusion comes. It's only through afterwards when you read all the prophecies and you put all the things together that you can now see everything as what it is.
But you know, when you said you haven't read the Old Testament. If you read
didn't say that, I said I haven't studied.
You haven't studied, okay. So if you haven't studied the Old Testament, and if you look at the Old Testament and the New Testament, one thing is pretty consistent, yes? Which is every prophet, every messenger, everyone who represented God, yes? Even in the New Testament, all the disciples, all the apostles, none of them worshipped a triune God. Yes? None of them worshipped a Godhead. They all worshipped, let me finish. They all worship the one true God, and they all consider that one true God to be the Father. Now, this is where I, as a Muslim, find it very difficult to believe that the Christians have actually not seen this consistency throughout the Bible. Because if there was such a clear message, you know, for someone to be saved, I would rather give them a clear-cut message rather than give them some, I don't know, some parables or some quiz or something ambiguous for them than to put together like a puzzle and then, wait, let me finish, and then come to the conclusion, oh no, God was actually not just the Father, it was more than that. Yes? You see, to me that is not the one God who would want you to be saved. To me that is not the true God's message who says that God is not the author of confusion. Because if you give confusing messages, people will get confused. If you give a clear-cut message, like it is in the Quran, when Allah wants to say that He is one, He says, "Qul huwallahu ahad," that He is one, Allahu samad, that He is eternal, He's unique, He is someone who is independent of anyone, anything. Yes, He neither begets nor is He begotten, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Yes, and there is nothing like unto Him. You see these 4 verses in the chapter Surah Al-Ikhlas, number 112 in the Quran. It encapsulates in 4 verses what God is and what He is not. You see, God in the Quran throughout says that He is the only true God. He makes it very clear that Muhammad is a messenger and not a God. He says He's a servant of Allah. He says Jesus is the servant of Allah, as it says in the Bible as well. He says Jesus is also prophet and a Messiah. You see, these are clear messages to us. We do not have any ambiguity as to who God is. Even though there are many sects in Islam, they all agree that there is one God and that is Allah. None of them will say that there is another God or someone else and we worship him. He's a man, we worship him. No, but in Christianity,
if you're honest,
it's ambiguous.
If you are honest,
Yeah.
100% honest, I and probably 90% of the Christians you meet will also say, or I'd say all Christians will say to you they only believe in one God.
Yeah, but what they mean by that one God, we have already seen from our discussion.
Right. But they say to you what you're saying, they only believe in one God. That's what I'm saying. You've done a lot of good things here, right? But we weren't going to go in the Quran, and I don't want to, but...
Why not?
Well, one, I haven't got my information.
Why can't you be as
me.
open-minded as me?
I haven't got my information with me, then I don't want to talk when I don't know. See, one thing you said, what did you say that first thing about God is what? God is one.
God is one. Surah Al-Ikhlas, 112.
Right.
Chapter 112.
Yeah. Now, the word for one, see, I don't want to go into things because this will be...
If you don't know, don't go into it.
Okay,
That's
well,
what
I
say.
do know.
If you do know,
I do
then
know
explain.
for a fact that that word one in Arabic is 24 or 27 times in the Quran, and every time, apart from the time you translate it, it doesn't mean one as in the number one like that. It means one of, or it does.
Absolutely false.
I've read them.
Shall I tell you? No, you haven't. Shall I tell you why you're wrong? What you're talking about is wahid, not ahad. Wahid can be yes.
Listen,
you can. No. Wait.
But
You ventured
I
into.
don't want
No.
to,
You.
listen, one thing before we carry on, I'll let you carry on. One thing.
Okay.
And the reason I don't want to carry on is because I haven't brought the things here, and that if you say things, because I'm here and not opposing them, it gives credence to what you're saying. So let's wipe that from that video. I have all my permission.
No,
But
because you have said it now, it can't be wiped off. There's a lot of
I'm
work
not
for the
agreeing
editors.
to
We don't
what
edit
you're-
our videos.
Yeah, but
So what I'm
I'm
saying
not
is this.
agreeing with what you're saying, though.
That's fine. You come back next time and you correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
What
just
you're
don't agree.
saying is not about the term ahad. Ahad cannot is indivisible. The term ahad, both in Hebrew, by the way, in Hebrew is the same. Yes, it says Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Ahad.
And when it says when it says two become one, it uses the same
Not
word.
ahad, definitely not. That's why I
Does.
said you don't understand the difference
Does.
between wahid and ahad. Wahid can be two people, they can be wahid in the term of as a unit.
No, so I don't really want to be about parties.
And that's the
because we've got
reason.
nothing to back it up.
And that's the reason I told you. If you don't know, please do not
I
say.
did say those 27 times.
No, you
I've
can't.
read
You can bring 27, 28, whatever you want.
24 or 27.
Every time the term ahad can only mean one, indivisible. Anyone who is an Arab.
We go on to
will say-
the Quran and have it when we come back.
And by the way, that term ahad in the Shema, wait, hear me out. That term ahad in the Shema, I've read this from the Jews, that this term appears 300, this term in Hebrew appears 300 times, and all of the times it means a unity, one as in one, indivisible one. Only maybe 3 times, and this is Hebrew, unlike Arabic, maybe in Hebrew might be some exceptions. Only 3 times it becomes as a unit rather
Definitely
than as
on the two that become
yes,
one.
but in
100%.
297 times it is indivisible one.
But if it can mean two will become one, it may.
Yeah, but the context is important.
But what
And Jesus made that context clear that only the Father. You can interpret one as
apart from
3.
the fact that you put a lot of words in my mouth and you won't
I
believe
didn't,
what,
I did.
and you won't
I
believe
corrected
what I
you.
say I believe.
You didn't back up with evidence.
My belief.
No, what you just said.
No, I'm forgetting all that. My belief, though, if I believe there's one God, I believe there's one God.
No, but your one God is not God.
No, I believe in one God. That's it. simple.
Don't backtrack.
But no, we're not going to.
Anyway, we have. It's on video.
But what upsets me?
Yes.
We've had a good conversation.
We have
apart
indeed.
from the
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
things, right? But
It did get heated somewhere,
the things that upset
but that's the
me,
norm.
well,
That's the norm in speakers.
off camera. But what upsets me, which we haven't covered about tonight, are I can understand that you're here to promote Islam, to stop people saying wrong things about Islam, and to hopefully stop people that are weak being changed from Islam to something else, or to encourage people to come to Islam. And that's all I'll give you all the thanks in the world. You do that job as well as you can, right? And I'd hopefully talk to my people. But, and I can't say you personally, I do think you as well, today you admitted it in one place, some of the things that are done are extremely wrong and underhand.
Which is,
Zombies.
you know why they
Wait,
use
wait,
zombies?
wait.
Because these are the dead
Because they want
saints.
to score
which-
points being stupid.
No,
That's
okay,
why.
if you don't like the term zombies, that's fine. I have no issues with it.
But they do
But
it though, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Say that
They do.
say that Jesus prayed the same as Muslims and everyone else should.
No, they
That's another
say
lie.
he prostrated like the Muslims.
But
on
they
his
indicate
face.
that he always did.
On
it.
his face.
He fell to his face.
How do you fall to your face? Show me.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I might hurt myself.
How did Jesus not hurt himself?
Because he's God. But we don't want to go down that line.
What about Abraham when he prayed like that?
I don't know.
What about Moses when he prayed
They
like that?
could have done that.
Exactly.
Right.
So this
But
shows us
one-
the consistency of the
one-
prophets
no,
that they fall on the face to pray to God.
Jesus prayed loads of times.
By the way, how do you think Jesus prayed? Without you actually demonstrating? Show me. Do you think he just went boom? Is that how you
I
prayed?
think Jesus prayed by sitting on a rock, standing up, talking.
No, he said he fell on his face.
One time.
Exactly. How did he do that?
Well, it says in that verses that bring them up. It says about.
He said,
Boom.
It says boom. Stop them
randomly, he
guys.
said,
No, but-
No,
guys. Let's respect him for.
I'm sorry. If he's
He
disabled,
said sorry. That is not one of mine. That's one of yours. That's a Christian.
I don't let people.
That's a Christian.
I corrected Christians from getting
By the way,
You're just seeing.
by the way, he has apologized.
I know he is. Right. But what I'm saying is, you're talking about.
So tell me, how did he fall on his face? I want to know. You said he might hurt himself because I want to know how.
I said I might hurt myself. Don't put words in my mouth.
No, but you must have some idea to imagine
you
that.
said to me, how would you do it? I said no, because I might hurt
So
myself.
how did you imagine it in your head?
He said he fell to his foot.
How did you imagine
I
it?
imagine he just fell to the floor.
Do you really think so?
Yes, because it talks about the same about. Yeah, it talks at the same about he was in so much anguish, he sweated as it were, literal drops of blood. This was something that's going on in his life that we can't ever imagine.
Why was he sweating blood?
What? Well, he was. We don't know if he was. It says as it were, literal drops of blood. So
But why was he in agony?
you know why? Because he was going to die a most hideous death. He tormented.
What did he ask God?
He said to God, you know, you're going to go and be for 2 hours. And if you can take this cup away from me, so
Wasn't that his only objective? Wasn't that his only objective?
Yes.
Or his
What
main
do you mean, his only
objective?
objective?
To die for your sins?
Yes.
Why does he want to bail out at the last minute?
Because that part of him, the human part of him.
But
We've had all this
but you
from
said he's
everyone,
fully God as well.
I know. That's why he went through
So
it.
why does this fully God? You know, if you were given one task by God, would you not be willing to do it?
Would I be willing to do it? I don't.
If you were given only one task by
I
God,
don't know.
would you not be willing to do it without asking God to give him an
I
alternative?
might, hopefully, be
Exactly.
able to do that. But wait, no.
So you're better than
difference is-
Jesus, because
we're
Jesus
gonna
here
go
is
into this
pleading
other
God.
situation because
No,
I
but it
believe.
just shows me-
No, but I believe Jesus was God, and this means that when God was on that cross, and He was going to take all. He was going to take all the sins of the world onto him. He was going to take all the sins of the world onto him. And he,
That was his main task.
I know, but he didn't. This saying we could all have main tasks. We might not want to do it.
If God gave it to you,
Might not want to do it still.
if God gave it to you, seriously,
Yeah.
what kind of faith do you have in God if He gives you one task and you can't do that?
I didn't say can't do it. I said I might not want to do it.
Okay, what would that make you?
Let's face Moses. The verses you love to bring in, is it Numbers 21, when Moses was told to kill all the men, all the women, all the boys, any woman that hadn't known a man, he could keep alive, was it? And he did something wrong, so he had to go back and kill them again.
No, actually, that was the other one.
Okay, well, right, so he didn't want to do something. There's lots of things God might ask you to do. When Abraham
You know why they didn't want to do
was
it?
asked to kill his son, did he want to do that?
He did actually. Abraham did not question God.
Did he want to do it?
Yes, he did.
Right.
In fact,
Well,
this
maybe
shows.
your Quran, not
Yes,
in here.
this shows the faith that Abraham had. That even when God told him to kill his own son, yes, actually in the Quran, God doesn't tell him directly. It comes to him in a dream, and that's the reason he didn't do it in the first instance. So he kept. Listen.
If Allah asked you to kill your son, if Allah asked you to kill your son, I'm not saying you wouldn't do it, and I hope I'd do it, but what I'm saying is, do you now foresee yourself being happy about doing it?
Okay, first and foremost, Allah says in the Quran that He will not burden you beyond your ability, beyond your scope. So for any human, be it in the time of the Amalekites, where they were told to massacre every men, women, and babies even. Yes? To me, that is beyond the scope of a normal human being, a normal person. Hence, you'll be reluctant to do that. Yes? Allah will not test you beyond your ability. Now, in the case of Abraham, who was a prophet of God, you cannot compare his willpower to that of us normal people. Yes? And that's the reason he was given this in his dream. Not God coming to him and telling him, go and sacrifice your son. In his dream, he was being instructed by God to go and sacrifice his son. He didn't do it at the first instance, at the second instance, at the third instance. He asked who? He asked his son, yes, Ishmael, and he asked him, do you, I know you're smiling because it's Isaac for you, but just for...
Pardon me, what?
You believe it's Isaac, we believe it's Ishmael. Okay.
I believe the words you want to put in, you're going to put in.
So Ishmael, he asked him, and you know what Ishmael asked? Whom is this from? Whom is this command from? He says it's from God. Immediately Ishmael says...
When you say 3 times, or is she talking about the Quran, yeah?
No, this is in the Hadith.
Yeah, well, but it's not in the Bible.
I didn't say it's in the Bible. Yeah. So in the Hadith and in the... from the story of Abraham... Wait, let me finish it. So Ishmael was asked...
Remember this, when I do come and start elaborating on Christianity, because this is preaching. No, normally you're all against that.
No. The reason I told is because I asked you a specific question.
Yeah.
And you preach about something which is entirely different to what I asked you.
And
to me that is...
I also said Abraham, I don't think he willingly...
Ishmael willingly sacrificed his son. This is his son who is younger than Abraham.
He didn't
but
go
Jesus
there.
Did not willingly die.
He didn't go up there skipping saying, oh, I'm going to kill my son today. He went up there probably dreading it and hating it.
I never said he enjoyed it.
Right,
but did he actually go and do it?
Yeah, but that whole, no.
Was he willing
this
to?
all comes back to you saying to me about would you do something God asked you to do. Right, and I said to you, yes, but I might not want to. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so you as a human, you might not want to.
Yeah.
What about God? What about someone who's 100% God? Would he want to?
The God side of him wouldn't even really worry because he knew he was going to live on.
How do you know it was the God side who was reluctant?
No, I don't. I think it was the man side.
How do you know? Why do you separate them? That's heresy.
Because
separating them is heresy.
Say heresy.
I will say heresy because that is what
Who says it's heresy?
Heresy is where you separate Jesus into
Who says it's heresy? Where does heresy
Well,
come
I know you don't like the church.
Thank you.
Right. But you do believe in the church.
No, I don't.
The canonization.
No.
You can keep shaking your head, but it's the truth.
No, I don't.
Okay?
Not at
Okay.
all. Right?
So you're telling me
one church you're saying canonizes has got a different amount of books.
Say again?
The one church you're saying that canonizes has got other books in there.
Oh, you mean you agree the Catholics canonize your book?
No, you're saying.
What do you believe?
Well, I don't believe they were Catholics back then, but the early church forming...
Early who?
Early church trying to find their...
So you're telling me the early church canonized your book?
Canonizing, yeah.
So you actually believe in the early church's canonization? Wow.
Well, I believe they
The guy who doesn't believe in the church believes in the canonization.
Well, I can't not
Everything
believe
you get from is from the canonization.
I cannot believe something that didn't happen. Do you believe that's a tree?
Yes.
I'm not going to start laughing or scoring
Yeah, but who
points.
created the tree?
God.
Who created the canonization? Oops.
What? Well, the early church.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. So you, who was reluctant to believe in the church, believe every word the church gave you.
No.
Every word the church gave you.
Every word in here was here before they canonized it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how do you know that? Have you got manuscripts before the canonization?
Have I? I've got. Yeah.
What is the earliest?
I've got proof.
What is the earliest manuscript you have? No. What is the earliest
But let's
manuscript?
go over the other thing.
Because you will not find a single manuscript of the Bible from any Christian church or non-church from the first 100 years after Jesus. Not a single manuscript. So please do not even think that is the original, because that is not the original.
One thing. I'm not going to start going into it because we're talking about things, but listen.
Things you don't know.
Do you know how? Right, we're talking about 3 main manuscripts you want to talk about, right? 2 that were found in the 1800s that are dated to approximately, say, 330, 360.
What is that based on?
This is, it's based on the majority text, the earliest one. Is it the Alexandrian? 440 years. Based on
the Masoretic text.
The 440 years is the oldest text.
No, it's not the 440. That is the KJV is based on the Masoretic text. You know how old they are?
440 years is the oldest majority text. It's 99%.
That is not based on the majority text.
It is.
The Masoretic text is something like from 1,000 years after Jesus, not
440 years.
What 440 years?
It is.
No, man.
I'll bring it with me. 440
bring
years.
your evidence next time.
Right. But either way, that date, 440 years, and the date of the other ones being approximately, say, 350 years, whatever, Do you know how they get that date?
From the manuscripts,
How?
based on many factors. Like for example, it could be from the script, it could be from the paper it's written on, the parchment, it could be carbon dating.
No,
It could be. I said
it isn't.
it could be. Well, maybe it
We're
isn't.
saying why?
But I said
I
it
can
could
prove
be.
to you it can't, isn't.
It could be, okay.
But it isn't. We're talking about them scripts, how they date.
But
those
what I'm saying is
scripts.
there's not one scripture you're talking about. You're
Those-
talking about
those three.
the entire Bible here.
No, those three scripts
Wait a
I'm
minute,
talking
wait.
about.
The entire Bible here is based on so many different manuscripts,
No,
and
it's
some
not.
of them date
Not.
1,000
Not.
years after Jesus.
No. But let's get back to my question. Those three manuscripts,
What
how
three?
were they dated?
I just told you.
You mentioned carbon dating. You've got to deny that.
Did you miss the other bits I told you?
I know, but
What
I
was
said
the other
that-
bits?
You said something about the paper they were written on, the text, the script, something.
Okay.
Right, but you can't carbon dating into it at all.
Okay, let's forget carbon dating.
Yes,
But even
thank
then, it's still 400 years after Jesus.
No, but how do you get that date? I would argue, I'm not saying the dates are wrong, but I would say there is no proof. Just to say the style of writing,
That's what I meant by the
yeah,
script.
the style of writing goes to a certain place, because you still can't prove that, because style sometimes becomes style a long time after it actually started. There's no,
That's the reason I said there's
there
many
is
factors,
no
not just one.
absolute proof.
How are you?
Hello, sir.
Hi,
Nice
how
to
you
meet you. How you
Pleasure
doing,
meeting
John?
you. I'm all right, thank you.
There's no absolute proof of their age. Although I agree.
But you still agree it's 400 years after Jesus.
I agree.
How will you fill the
I
gap
would
of 400 years? How do you know what Jesus said after 400 years?
We really haven't got time now, but briefly, how I believe it. Right, I believe it because you say now, right? So the script I go back to 430, 440 years after AD. So that's about 390 years after Christ, or 400 years after Christ. It was actually being dated to. Now we go from there to where we are now, where, like you said, like
No. How will you go before?
I know, we've got,
How do you fill the gap
we've
from
got
Jesus?
thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of different lanes back. So they must go back somewhere.
Sorry. How do you trace it back?
No, they must go back
No,
somewhere.
don't say must. How
I'm
do you
not
trace
saying
it back?
how, I'm just saying they must go. Whether they must go backwards.
No. Yes, in theory they should go back.
Now, to prove what was backwards was the same, right, so we know they go backwards. Now,
How?
the biggest we know they weren't written on them day. The biggest,
What do you mean they were not written on them?
the biggest mistake, say, the
How do you fill the gap of 400 years?
so
You
the
can't.
I can.
You can't.
I can.
You have no.
I can.
Was that?
I can.
Yeah, there's a big gap.
I
You know,
can
we
fill
have
it.
the hadith
I
which
can
are 200
fill it.
years, 250 years after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You
can
know how
fill
we
it.
fill the gap? We have the chain of narration.
Yeah, but that isn't full. That isn't sure.
The chain of narration
Isn't
is.
a sure way of doing it.
Was that?
That isn't a sure proof
Of
way of
course
doing
it
it. It isn't.
You haven't
It
studied the
isn't.
chain. What is the chain of narration?
We're going different points here. but
Exactly, you don't know what
there's
it is
two
about.
chains in narration.
Which is.
No, I'm saying there are nothing to do with hadith. There's two chains in narration, which is who should have taken over after Muhammad died, and they differ
It's
wildly.
got completely different to the
But
scripture.
the chains in narration that we've got to differ wildly, which is why you have arguments.
No, we don't.
between two.
No. The chain of narration for the Quran is consistent. The chain of the Sahih Hadith are consistent. It's very clear. You know why he doesn't want to know this? Because they can never fill the 400 year
Now you
gap.
won't let me.
I did ask you many
No,
times.
I'm time.
Okay,
you
go on,
keep
tell
going
me.
into me.
Go on.
Right. So
The chain of narration.
the biggest argument that tries to condemn this, which has been totally put aside, one was the age, and the other one was in the big thing with the verses of the adulterous woman being, you know what I'm about, the adulterous
Yes.
woman. He says, "He who has cast the first stone."
And the 1 John 5:7.
No, but I'm saying that's the main thing the NIV points to, these 6-7 things. Right. Now, so for a long time, people thought, oh, well, that's in this version, it's not in that version, so we'll poo-poo it. But they have now got the letters written by Polycarp, who was one of John's followers, who actually, word for word, writes it. So the existence of the text, whether it not being in a Bible, was there.
So you're telling me Polycarp wrote the Gospel of John?
No!
You
I
said
didn't
word to
say
word.
that. I said he discussed in letters,
Yes.
and one of the discussions he had was on this. People who replied to him, they discussed ad lib. He wrote it as it appeared in the early copies of the Bible.
Let me ask you if you know about Polycarp.
I don't know a lot about him at
Okay.
all. I didn't say I
There is
did.
one key
so
thing which
don't
you have
try and
which you have
say that
overlooked.
I did.
Yes. Yes, alhamdulillah.
And I'm
Still
not
young,
well.
you know? What do you mean I'm still young? Okay, so what I'm saying is this. If Polycarp was indeed the disciple of John, why in none of his letters he mentions John?
Well, I'm not going into information.
Of course you're not, because you haven't read about it.
But I said I hadn't.
Exactly.
You've run
So
nothing there.
so that one evidence of yours goes out the window.
No,
Next.
because I said...
Next.
I didn't. I said he did write about the story of the adulterous
Next.
woman, and he lived in that time. So all it means is that did happen.
The disciple of John never mentions John once in his letters.
No, but
Why?
he mentions what he wrote.
Why?
He mentions what he wrote.
So what? Anyone could mention what he wrote.
But it had to be in existence for him to mention what he wrote.
No. First and foremost, you need to realize that Polycarp actually took his knowledge from John. Because if he never mentions John, the question remains, where did he take it from? Maybe this whole Gospel of John is a whole thing which is a hoax, which the later churches attributed to John when it wasn't John's
Polycarp
words.
lived at that time. So now, if in his letters he has written what was in that, whether he claims it's John or not, means it was in existence.
Unless
That's
you
what
answer
I'm
my
saying.
question, why did he not mention the teacher?
We're not mentioning who
Why?
wrote it.
That is the-
we are mentioning
okay.
the existence of that story biblically.
I want to know how you can fill the 400-year gap.
Because the main objection to most of that, the main objection to that is this one story was missing in there.
I don't think that's the main
Missing-
objection.
It's one of them.
By the way, my question to you was nothing to do with objecting to the KJV. I don't care whether it's the KJV, the
There's only
NIV,
one
the
Bible.
RSV,
I do.
whatever
I
it
do.
is.
I
No, but
do.
I'm telling
But
from
I
my
care.
perspective, whatever you want to call your Bible as
care.
the one true Bible, you still have that centuries of gap. How do you fill that
Like
gap?
I said to you, if people that were alive in the first 100 years wrote things that aren't in the Bible, they must have been in existence.
You're telling me that the writing of Polycarp
Not
is from the
Poly-
100 years, really?
I don't know about exactly 100 years, but sometime, I don't know.
Not
his
from the
lifespan.
100 years, it's after the 100 years.
I'd have to search his life.
Exactly.
many times.
You know what?
When was
Andrew,
he born?
Andrew,
When was he born?
I don't remember the date of his birth and death.
You don't remember.
But you-
I think he was alive in the first century, yes.
If he was alive in the first century,
Yes.
then they should have a manuscript from the first century, but they don't.
No, they shouldn't, because
Exactly.
of several reasons. What it
So
is-
that's why I'm asking you, how do you fill
know
the gap
why.
if
You
you don't
know
have the
why.
original
Well, I
scripture?
told you why.
If they don't have the original manuscripts, how will you
They
fill the
haven't
gap?
got the original
that even
manuscripts
Polycarp wrote
because
it?
they were written on things that fell apart. They weren't intended to be kept. They were intended to be used,
Not my
copied.
fault.
No, they were intended to be used, copied, and passed on.
Not my fault.
So, no, it's not.
If you don't have the originals,
But-
if you don't have from the first century,
Listen.
then you have a big problem.
but in the letters of a man who was alive at that time, who wrote these things on letters that weren't passed
But you don't have the
around
manuscripts of the
and
letters, so you're
given-
still in the same problem.
No, the letters.
The letters manuscripts are not there from the
I
first century.
don't. I'd have to study.
Exactly. You know, one piece of advice for Andrew, I've done this many times today. That's
Yeah,
why I'm
yeah.
asking, I'm telling you. Whenever something you don't know, yes,
But I
please
do
don't
know
discuss
that.
it.
Yeah.
Because little knowledge is
You
dangerous.
said to me, you tried to poo-poo his age. I said to you when
No, I
was he
didn't say about
born?
the age, I said the manuscripts, remember?
I said when he was born. You said I don't know.
I said, does Polycarp's manuscripts exist from the first century? Find them, and then we discuss.
well.
But if you don't have them, then you're in a predicament no different to other people, the other Bibles, who also have these big gaps
I'm not
between
on
their
about-
manuscripts
If the people
and Jesus.
if the people that were alive at the early time, like the people who said Matthew wrote this, Mark wrote this, Luke wrote this, surely you'd love to destroy me on that. You would say about Luke not knowing Jesus. or
Luke
Mark
never met
or
Jesus.
Things like that.
Mark never met
these-
Jesus.
These writings. Oh, you know what?
Mark and Luke never
believe
met Jesus. Go and ask
You've got
historians.
to be very careful now.
About what?
Because surely,
And Matthew actually copied from Mark. The
Surely-
very disciple copying from someone who
Excuse
never
me.
met Mark.
surely, if you're going to say
Yeah.
that Mark never saw Jesus,
Yes, he did not.
then I would say you have got dark powers working in within you.
Why?
Because you're making a statement you can't back up. That must have come from where? Must be
Okay,
from
was
the devil.
was Mark?
From
Let me ask you.
angels.
Was Mark a disciple of Jesus?
Oh yeah.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Honestly, this guy, you know, he really
No,
needs
no,
to
no.
study a bit about it.
No, come
because
on. Let's
I think
do
what
that.
what
Let's get going. No, don't laugh at me. Say to me, why wasn't Mark
I'm telling
a
you,
disciple?
because Mark is not a disciple of Jesus.
Why wasn't Mark a disciple of Jesus?
Because from it's okay, it's okay, okay. From all the disciples which are actually listed in the Bible, yes, no, Mark is not one of them.
Okay, can we clarify something? This man said, was Mark a disciple of Jesus?
Yes, please,
and I
Christians,
said,
help him out.
I know, and I said he was a disciple of Jesus, I didn't say he was one of the 12 disciples named by Jesus in the Bible.
So on what basis you're saying that?
Because it's talking there are hundreds of disciples. I'm a disciple of Jesus.
Oh, in that way. Then
He's a disciple of Jesus.
Then anyone who hasn't written the Bible can also write the Bible.
No,
they're all disciples.
of course they can't.
You see what I mean? Exactly. His logic doesn't work.
That's not logic at all.
It is
not
because
logic.
if you're saying Mark is a disciple who never saw Jesus,
Who said he never saw Jesus?
Okay, where's the
How
evidence?
can you prove he never saw Jesus?
Because if you don't have proof, then you assume he never did. Simple as that.
Well, yeah, but he's spoken about in the Bible. He spoke about.
Well, the devil has spoken about him. Does it make
and
him his
he's spoken-
disciple?
I know he's spoken.
Doesn't make him his disciple.
He's spoken about as being.
Andrew, if you don't have evidence
I
that he's a
do.
disciple,
He's
we
a
know
main-
that is not his disciple.
He is a
Simple as
main
that.
follower of disciples. He's mentioned by name.
What about Luke? Do you think Luke is a
He's
disciple?
mentioned. Let's get back to Mark because you made a comment you cannot back up
I-
any way, shape, or form.
I don't need to back up. By the way,
assumed-
when I said disciples, I meant the 12 disciples.
You didn't say that.
Okay? But everyone assumes what disciples are.
Well, I didn't.
You said you're a disciple.
I am. Yeah.
Yes? You also said you believe in one God. You also said Jesus believes in the same one God. But then we found out you're not the same as Jesus.
Mark was a
Yes,
disciple.
unless you can provide evidence.
Not one of the 12
Nothing.
disciples. He was a disciple of God.
Bring evidence then, if you're so sure. I'm not the one claiming this. You're the one claiming
You
it.
claimed he wasn't.
Yes, but you said he was, so bring evidence. The evidence is always meant for the one who claims it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Mark's clearly talks about it in the Bible.
Show me.
In one of your favourite subjects on the Council of Jerusalem, 15 Acts or something.
So
Acts 15.
Mark actually tells you that he is a disciple of Jesus.
No, you changed the
Or that he
goalpost.
saw Jesus.
I said he was. No, I didn't say that either. I said it's in the Bible. He was spoken about in the Bible. Is what I
Oh,
said.
so finally it comes back to spoken about.
No. So now he knows.
You see, guys?
No.
Have you seen what he done?
Now he knows what I'm talking about.
Now it is on video,
No,
then you will
no,
see the
no,
games
no,
you play.
right.
The guy who says,
No.
I'm a good guy, I'm a sincere guy.
No, he said to me about Mark, I said he spoke about it in the Bible.
shall we agree he's
you
never
said
seen
to
him?
me,
He's not a
no,
disciple.
let's do this. You said to me he wasn't spoken about in the Bible. I said he was. Then when I opened the Bible to show it to you, you backtracked and said, oh, he didn't say he knew God, didn't say he was a disciple of God, but he's clearly talked about it in the Bible.
Okay,
which is what I said.
did Mark see Jesus? Let's get that over with.
Well, I can't say he did or he didn't, but I think, I think he
We
would
don't have any evidence. Shall we agree with that he saw Jesus?
I don't know, no. I wouldn't say
We don't
that.
have any evidence from your Bible that he saw Jesus. Shall we agree?
I don't know what you mean by evidence. He doesn't say that he was.
You know, this guy really is pedantic.
No, but what I'm saying to
When
you
he
is,
knows what I'm asking, it's very clear.
if Mark's
Okay.
a follower of Peter, right? Mark's talked about in the gospel,
The question about Jesus,
in
not Peter.
Acts. No,
The question is about Jesus, not
we're
about
not
Peter.
denying at the moment that Peter was alive with Jesus.
Yes, we are not talking about Peter. Nice try.
No, but we're
Let's
not
stick to
denying
Mark.
Peter.
Like
was,
you said, let's stick to Mark.
we're not denying
And
that
Jesus.
Peter was with Jesus. So if Mark was a follower of Peter,
Yeah.
then there's every chance that he also, at times, might have been with Peter when Peter was with Jesus. So he might have seen Jesus.
No, but
it's not far-fetched
No,
to think
no, it's not. I'll tell you why. Because Peter could have been during the 3 years of Jesus' ministry.
Could have been.
By the way, Jesus'
It could
ministry
have
is
been.
only 3 years.
It could have been.
Yes?
Yes.
You cannot include all of his
It can't
disciples
be.
who
I
lived
know.
later
I
on.
know that.
And everyone